Their absolute all. Um, I'm always careful about stereotypes because even positive stereotypes are harmful, but our many of our team members are incredibly analytical problem solvers,
Right.
right? They can spot an anomaly in a pattern. They can figure out how to fix it. And I think part of that comes from walking through a world that's not meant for you, right? And then saying, well, I want to fix that. I want to fix that for other people. They're also an incredibly kind and welcoming group, and I think that comes from the same place.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious. That's greatness. Be audacious. Motivation, be audacious. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where we believe everyone has the potential to live their best, audacious lives ever. I'm thrilled to be here with you today and grateful that you're spending time out of your day to be with us. Each episode, we dive into these stories and insights of remarkable individuals who inspire us to embrace our uniqueness, challenge the status quo, and pursue our passions fearlessly. Now, today, we're delving into the world of neurodiversity, a topic that celebrates the incredible strengths and talents of autistic and neurodivergent individuals. Think of it like a championship team. Every player brings their own unique skill set to the game. Some excel at strategy, others at speed or creativity. And when those differences come together, that's when the true team truly thrives. That same principle applies to our workplaces. When we embrace diverse minds and perspectives, we create stronger, more innovative, and unstoppable organizations. In this episode, I'm totally excited to introduce Tara May. She's the CEO of Aspirate Tech, a social enterprise dedicated to creating meaningful employment opportunities for autistic adults. Tara's mission is to transform workplace cultures by fostering environments where neurodivergent individuals can thrive. With over 90% of her team being autistic, Tara exemplifies how understanding neurodiversity, active listening, and kindness can lead to extraordinary outcomes for both employees and individuals. So now that we've got the table all set, without any further ado, let's jump into our conversation with Tara May. Enjoy. Hey, Tara, thanks for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you making the time to do this. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No, this is great. I always take pleasure in the opportunity to share and engage with individuals, and this podcast is a labor of love, and I very much appreciate the opportunity I have to do that with individuals that have something to offer like yourself. So again, this really means a lot for you being here. Um, here on this podcast, we very much encourage, this best audacious life that we talk about. And that's going to look very different for everyone. We're not on the exact same path. And so I think that's a really big part of recognizing that the journey is not going to be the exact same. But regardless of what's in front of you, you still take that step on that pathway regardless. And that's really, the summarizing a lot of what we do here. Not everything, but a lot. And so it's really, it's key that you had to have you here. Now, you specialize in neurodiversity in the workplace, and I think and perhaps what we'll do is I'll have you opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience, talk about the work that you do, and kind of what's got you to the point that you're at now. But I really much would also appreciate, just for our listeners, if you wouldn't mind sort of explaining a little bit what neurodiversity is for those who may not be familiar with it.
Sure, absolutely. And I get it. It was not a term I knew until my son was diagnosed as autistic, and I really fell in love with the concept. So, neurodiversity is the idea, right, that all of our brains are different. 100% of us have unique brains that operate differently. Mine operates differently from yours. And our brain impacts everything about the way we experience the world, the way we learn, the way we communicate, the way we experience sensory issues, and then the way we fall in love, how hot or cold we feel in a room, everything. So neurodiversity thinks about us in two different groups, right? There's the 80% of us that
Mhm.
are neurotypical, meaning our brain works roughly like everybody else's. And then there's about 20% of us whose brains work so differently that we put a name on it,
Okay.
like ADHD, autism, OCD, things like that. And
Right.
those people are thought of as neurodivergent, right? Just a bit outside the box.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. And so, if you wouldn't mind the kind of the work that you do and what got you to the point that you're at now.
So today, I am CEO of Aspirate Tech. We are a tech company with a mission, so very much a social enterprise. Our mission is meaningful employment for autistic adults.
Gotcha.
So we're roughly 6 million in annual revenue, right? Not a huge company. We employ 100 people, and of those 100, more than 90% are autistic, from
Okay.
entry-level positions all the way up to 80% of our executive leadership team.
Mm.
So we're really good at tech, right? We do QA, we do a little bit of web development, we do data services and accessibility testing. But I like to say that our core competency is creating a workplace where autistic people can thrive.
Got you. I'd love to know what sort of sparked, your passion. You referenced your son, I think. Is that kind of where it started for you, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So my son was diagnosed autistic at 5, but it was very clear to me from the day he was born that he was not like my other children and
Hmm.
not like most children. And it took us 5 years to get that diagnosis. It is not easy. It's not an easy process, especially 15 years ago.
Hmm.
He was pre-verbal until he was 7, and now is a thriving, uh, well, soon to be high school freshman going into 3 honors classes. And it was really through his journey that I fell in love with the concept of neurodiversity and really started seeing it all around me, but also came to understand that autistic people are capable of absolutely anything with the right supports. And those
Mm.
supports might be different than what the rest of us need. Um, and so 3 years ago, decided to leave the corporate space. I had spent 25 years in the corporate space
Hmm.
and take over leadership of this amazing organization. And I often say I'm the luckiest person in the world. I absolutely love what I do every single day. And a lot of people, and including possibly my husband, would have did think it was audacious that I left my corporate job and my
Sure.
corporate bonuses to run a social enterprise. But there's not a single day I regret it.
No, it absolutely sounds it. That I think it checked all the boxes as far as being audacious goes, an audacious move, if you will. So congratulations on that. I very much love the idea. And maybe full transparency. I've got a 21-year-old daughter who's on the autism spectrum. So
Wow.
I very much understand and connect. And when you talked about, the right supports, I very much understand. But also too, it's not a whole lot different from those who aren't neurodivergent, right? We all need some level of support. What we do though is we call them learning styles, right? And we have different learning styles and how we learn. And so some are more auditory, some are more visual, some are more tactile. And so they, as much as as much as society looks at that group of individuals that are special needs, what they're essentially doing is tapping the thing that we all need, and that's support and able to manage on a day-to-day or function. And that's really what we're talking about here, I would say.
I could not agree more, right? And I say it over and over again. We are all humans, which
Yep.
means we all have strengths and something amazing to offer the world, but we also have needs, and that isn't something to be ashamed of or embarrassed
Right.
about. And I
But you're
think
not weak about it because you have a need either, too. It's not a deficit.
in fact, I would say you're strong and intelligent for recognizing and identifying your needs and filling them, right? It would not be smart to stop drinking water or stop feeding your body, right? Why should we treat our brains any differently? And I think it's really interesting, as a parent, you're a parent, your autistic child has needs. Well, your neurotypical children have needs
It's
too,
also
right?
true.
We
Yep.
all know this. And I think we think it's okay to think about our children as having needs and our students as having needs. in school. But as soon as we start talking about employment,
Right.
all of a sudden we can't talk
It
about
doesn't
those
work. Oh,
needs
no, yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah,
can't need anything. And I think that's ridiculous. I think we have a lot of work to do in the workplace.
So in 2019, I'm a big basketball guy, and so in 2019, the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship, which was a big deal, and as part of the so they brought the championship home, and they had this huge celebration. And the streets were lined with people. There was millions of people. There was no unquestionably, and I decided that I was going to bring my children. And so I've got three children, and my middle daughter is the one on the autism spectrum I referenced. And so at the time, she would have been do math here. She would have been 15. Her younger brother would have been 13. And many thought it was a huge risk. My goodness, you're going to take her to this, this place with massive crowds and sensory overload and all these people, and once you get in that crowd, you're stuck. There's not like you can say, okay, we'll leave now. Like it was just you were surrounded by a sea of people, and I said, let's just give it a shot anyways and see what happens, right? And I took all three of them, and she was fantastic. She was fantastic. She had a great time. My youngest son, who's not on the spectrum, who is considered normal, who's okay, there's nothing wrong with him, man, he was a handful that day, right? And I would never have thought that. And so, just to go to your point about supporting, the other children need support, they do. And so, I think, my philosophy has always been, again, on that sort of audacious theme, just try it and see. So no different than going to a parade with millions of people. Let's try and see what happens. And I think what you're doing, or at least what I feel like I've been doing, is giving her an opportunity, giving her a chance. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But at least we gave her a chance, as opposed to put it on the shelf or in a box saying, "Well, it's not going to work out, so we won't do it at all."
Right. I think it's so critical for us to have high expectations of everyone, right? To not presume incompetence. And that's amazing. And not surprising that one of the kids had a hard time because that's a tough environment, right? But it doesn't have anything to do with our assumptions
No.
about the situation. It's
Yeah.
let's try it, let's see, let's be audacious and go for it, right?
Yeah. That's it.
And it can be about the environment too. We brought our kids to LA and did Universal. Universal has absolutely incredible accommodations
Right.
for autistic children and guests. And we had the absolute best experience. And then we went to one of the other parks, which I will not shame, but they did not have such great accommodations. And my son had a meltdown about two-thirds of the way through the day, just could not handle the heat, could not handle the crowds. But we still had a great day up until 2 o'clock when that happened, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
so you just do life, man.
That's
It's
it.
you
That's
just do
it.
it.
Just don't hold back. Just give it a shot and see, right? And you
Done. Yeah, I love that story.
and more than likely, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Right? You more than
Absolutely.
likely. So you talked about Aspirate Tech enduring a majority of individuals on the autism spectrum. I'd love to sort of hear about sort of the unique sort of advantages or strengths that you observe in your team.
Yeah, so it's hard to boil this down because the team at Aspirate Tech is absolutely incredible. And I say that after 25 years of working in digital and tech space in the corporate world
Mhm.
where, there's an easy comparison. I think first, um, most of our team members have had to work really hard, harder than most of us, to get to where they are. And
Mhm.
so there is an incredible work ethic. There's an incredible loyalty. Our retention rate is over 99% year over year. Our team members sometimes have to be told to stop working because they will burn themselves out. They will give their absolute all. Um, I'm always careful about stereotypes because even positive stereotypes are harmful, but our many of our team members are incredibly analytical problem solvers,
Right.
right? They can spot an anomaly and a pattern. They can figure out how to fix it. And I think part of that comes from walking through a world that's not meant for you, right? And then saying, well, I want to fix that. I want to fix that for other people. They're also an incredibly kind and welcoming group. And I think that comes from the same place. The team members at Aspirate Tech have, they range in age from early 20s, right? Just young and new to the workforce,
Mhm.
all the way up to our oldest team member is 70 years old.
Wow.
And one of the things they say to me often that struck me when I first arrived is that this is the first place they've ever felt like they weren't the outsider. Like it's just built for them and it's an incredible group of community and peers, but they also are really welcoming to absolutely everyone. And I think it's because they don't want other people to feel that way, right? Um, I started the position in the middle of figuring out that I was being launched into menopause, right? And
Okay.
so I'm taking this new job in a new
Yep.
space, my first CEO role, something that is incredibly important to me. I am trying to just give my absolute all, but I'm going through some physical up and downs, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And the team one day I was having a little bit of a rough day, and they started this thread on Slack. Sending me pet pictures because pet pictures increase your dopamine levels and help you feel better.
Ah.
Like on this thread, and all of a sudden, dozens and dozens of pet pictures are coming over because the team members want to make me, the CEO, feel better. Right?
Wow.
And it's
Wow.
just one example, but you get the idea of what it's like to work with the Aspira Tech team.
And those things, and I know sort of part of positive workplace culture is something that you also sort of speak a lot about. And I can certainly see how all of those things contribute to healthy workplace culture and not a healthy but positive, which is incredible for productivity, isn't it?
So this is one of the things I like to talk about the most.
Okay.
So I will keep it short and don't let me drone on and on. But in my prior life, was brought in to media companies to help them transform. So I would go help the team uh, go from a legacy print company
Hmm.
to a thriving digital company,
Okay.
which is hard. It's hard. It's technical change, it's people change, it's mindset change. Most of all, it's cultural change.
Right.
What I would say to the leadership of these organizations that would hire me, and I was very good at what I did, so I would be in demand, is that this cannot be done drill sergeant style.
Right.
The team will resist and they will get mad. This has to be done through explaining to the team why this is going to benefit them. It has to be done through learning and kindness.
Mm,
This is very counterintuitive to what we think is successful transformative change
right.
in the corporate space, right? Uh, and treating people well is the absolute best way to drive employee engagement, which drives productivity and it drives innovation. If you are in a workplace where you're terrified to fail, you aren't going to try anything new.
This is true.
And that isn't going to work in 2025 and beyond. You have to have the psychological safety to screw up, right? Whether it was one of my corporate media companies or Aspiratech, I ask team members all the time to try something new, and they know if it goes well, I'm going to cheer them on. But more importantly, they know if it goes badly, I'm going to help them figure out how to fix it and move on from the problem, right? And that
Mm.
is a really special thing to have at a workplace.
I was and I actually was gonna ask you, or at least comment on the fact that when you're leading such a diverse workforce, empathy is so key and so important, and that's exactly so what you described, just in terms of just understanding that first off, it's a safe workplace, right? And so mistakes are okay, right? And but at the same, again, that level of empathy is what's really needed to be able to lead a workforce as diverse as yours. And I just heard that all of that in your response just now.
I completely agree. It's important for Aspirate Tech where we have 90 plus autistic individuals, but I would go ahead and add that it's important absolutely everywhere, right?
Yeah,
Like we said earlier, we're humans and we don't stop being humans from
right.
9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We just don't. And accommodations and success factors can be so very simple. And I'll give you a good example. So
Mhm.
I carry around this like ridiculous water bottle, right?
Okay.
I gave a kidney to my dad 6 months ago, and I have to be very, very intentional about hydration. So I drink probably 130 ounces of water a day, and I carry that stupid bottle with me absolutely everywhere. So
Mm-mm.
that's an example of an accommodation you can do for a team member that
Right.
costs nothing. It hurts no one, right? It's just helping me get through my day.
Right. Right. So there you go. No, I think that's a great example. Um, now you've become an advocate for neurodiversity, right? That's sort of the mantle you've taken, you've run with. I'm really curious to hear maybe some of the sort of the biggest challenges that you faced and how you overcame them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the reasons I think it's so important is because Aspira Tech, we are a wonderful place, but we're a little oasis, right?
Yeah.
And the world needs to be kinder to autistic adults, to neurodivergent people. But I think through that, we can learn to be kinder to everyone, right?
Mm,
And that's what I care about most deeply is changing the conversation from what we don't have in common, the differences among us. I mean, especially in the United States. I know you're in Toronto. The atmosphere in the United States feels very mean right now.
mm,
And to me, I'm always about shifting toward that place where we treat each other and care about each other with a really high degree of kindness and empathy. There are challenges in front of that, right? There are, like you asked, there are stigmas and stereotypes. I think, sometimes when you see an adult man clapping his hands or talking to himself, you might be confused about that. But
right.
many autistic adults stim, and it's just their way of coping with their sensory experiences, and it's hurting absolutely no one, right? And so when we place someone, for example, in a different organization, on site, we'll talk about that. We'll teach, right? What if this person is stimming and it's not bothering anyone? Great, let them stim. If they're stimming and it's a little bit disruptive, let's talk about how to deal with that. You can
Right.
absolutely ask them to go into a private meeting room and pace back and forth, right? So to me, it's all about education, but
Yes.
it's also about accepting people exactly as they are,
That's right.
right? And I think we all
Not trying
deserve
to change them, right? Not trying to change them to something else.
like I don't want to be changed, right?
Right.
I'm sure
Right.
you don't want to be
Right.
changed.
Right.
And identity is so complex and nuanced and personal.
Yes.
If we can just get to a place where we accept each other rather than fight each other, I think this is my small way of contributing to that.
I love that you mentioned kindness because it's such a powerful tool and a really powerful tool, and it really has the ability to change like organizations and how they operate and how they even the so you change an organization, their operation dynamics all can be altered, and these things naturally lead to more productivity. And so I think kindness is a wonderful tool to institute and weave into the fabric of the organization, as you touched on.
There's an ROI to
Yes,
kindness,
yes.
right? And I say that all the time, and I purposefully juxtapose, right, this really sort of hard P&L concept of return on investment with something most people think of as soft and touchy-feely in
Right.
kindness. But the thing is, they're intricately weaved together, right? And there are countless examples of companies that thrive when they treat their employees well and struggle when they don't. There may even be, short-term profit boosts to layoffs. There's long-term pain, right? And we know this and we've seen it over and over again. There are so many psychological studies that show that by treating people with kindness, you get better results in the workplace.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yes, I 100% agree with you on that. Something else that you touched on or referenced is really the listening or the power of listening, and I think if you're able to establish a culture. Or even cultivate one that allows for people to be heard, for viewpoints to be acknowledged, and really be an active listener. Again, I think when we talk about sort of transforming organizations, I really do think that that power exists there. Are there any sort of strategies or things that you'd recommend that can help sort of create sort of a culture of listening?
I love that you brought that up. And I think you said one of the strategies that I recommend, first of all, which is to be an active listener, to really do it consciously, right? And just say, I'm not just listening to you so that I can say my next thing.
Right, right, right,
I'm listening to you to hear what you have to say. So I think that's a really critical component. Another strategy I recommend is to listen to all levels of the organization. So I think sometimes as humans, it's natural to listen most often to the people on our same level managerially. But it's really critical to listen at every level, above
right.
you, below you,
Mhm.
and to understand the perspective and to understand that great ideas come from absolutely every level of the organization.
Mm,
Another important strategy I always recommend is not to listen for the sake of listening, but to listen and then act, right? And I think
right,
that's sometimes a missing piece in organizations. For example, a lot of companies love, love, love to do engagement surveys, right? Employee surveys. But what's happening after the survey results come in?
right.
Now, that's not to say that you're going to implement absolutely every idea that comes from every team member. That's first of all impossible. And second of all, dichotomous, right? Because not everyone's going to agree on anything, everything. But to listen and give feedback, here's what I can implement and here's what I can't. Here's what I can implement now and here's what I can implement later. I think is really critical. Otherwise, people stop talking, right? If you talk and share things and nothing ever changes, eventually you're going to withdraw and stop contributing. So there has to be action behind the listening as well.
Action is key. It's very, very important, right? And you're not listening for the sake of listening, or listening to say that I made you listen, but I need to still make my point, right? It's much more, much deeper and broader than that. Sort of curious to kind of sort of looking ahead, and when you sort of think about your vision for, the work in relation to neurodiversity. What do you see, or what does that look like for you?
So it looks like a couple of things. One is continued growth for Aspirate Tech, right? We are, I believe, just at the beginning of our journey, and I would like to see us not just employing 100 people, but eventually employing 200 people and 500 people. So we'll continue to work to grow. We're also launching our academy into cybersecurity.
Okay.
So we're going to be training autistic adults for careers in cybersecurity, and that is a fantastic way for us to contribute to national security, to people's safety in a field in a way that our community is passionate about. So we're pretty excited about that. And then last but not least, we're trying to take our model and what we've learned from 20 years of employing uh, autistic adults and teach it to other organizations. And I think that's something really special, right? Like I said, we're an oasis.
Sure.
We want we want all communities, all companies, all organizations to really understand the autistic experience and the neurodivergent experience. And we believe by doing that, we can really make the world a better place for everyone.
I love it. I love it. Um, Advice for leaders who are trying to create more inclusive environments, and or maybe this is new to them, or even this concept of neurodiversity is foreign. What would you suggest to them in terms of maybe a starting point, and things that they can do?
So first, I would say I hope the concept of neurodiversity is as interesting to you as it is to me. If you've never heard it, it really is fascinating, right?
Hmm.
Uh, But the second is you don't really need to understand neurodiversity or diagnoses to offer your employees the support that they need.
Right.
Simply asking, what do you need to be your best self in the workplace, can go a really long way. We have a
Right.
one question survey that goes out every morning. It says, what is your stress level at work today on a scale of 1 to 5?
Oh,
And if it's a 5, you get a check-in. Well, that has absolutely nothing to do with anyone's diagnosis. But
yeah.
as a manager, wouldn't you love to understand the stress level your team members are working at, whether it's
Right.
something at work that you can help address or something at home that you can just understand and be empathetic about? I think just simply asking our team members what they need and creating a space for them to feel comfortable sharing, that can go a really long way.
Beautiful. I love the one question survey. I think it really, again, we talked earlier about empathy, right? It really allows us to understand where people are at, and then give us an opportunity to contribute or help in some way or find out if there's a way we can help. So I think it's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Tara, this has been beautiful. I really so appreciate this conversation. I think, I mean, it's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful topic. And again, I do love the fact that you're working as passionate as you are. Wondering sort of, what personal experience or lessons have been the most profound, had the most profound impact on you and your journey as and I'm going to dub you as a cultural change agent because you absolutely, without question, are out there changing cultures. I'm wondering and what stands out for you in that journey.
So I mentioned earlier that I gave a kidney to my dad. And this was probably one of the most transformative experiences of my life. Um, but I think what was so profound about it for me was that a lot of people would congratulate me or sort of like give me, oh my gosh, you're amazing. And I absolutely hated that
Okay.
because I was really the one who received something. I received what I hope is another decade with my dad. I
Mhm.
got to see him transform from someone who was in kidney failure to a healthy, happy person again. I got to see him get back on his motorcycle and ride. And I use this example, even though we've been talking about workplaces and kindness, because the return on that investment I made, it was really all
Mhm.
mine.
Yeah.
And that was, to me, a confirmation of absolutely everything I believe in.
Yes.
And it, it changed the way I look at the world.
Mhm. Yeah, I can certainly see that, and I love the idea of you being the receiver of the gift, and I think that just goes to show when we authentically give for the sake of helping others, that boomerang effect, the things that come back to us are just unimaginable. We never know the impact, and I certainly I hear that and absolutely love that for you. So congratulations on that because that really, again, that return on investment is more than you ever would imagine. I'm certain of that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. For listeners that wanted to connect with you directly or learn more about your work or that of Aspirate Tech, where could we send them?
Our website is the best place to start, www.aspiratech.org. And we love to hear from potential partners, potential candidates, autistic people all over the country and the world. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Amazing. And we'll, as always, make sure that the all the appropriate contact details are in the show notes below. Tara, this has been an absolutely fabulous time with you and sharing and learning more about your work and your passion. Congratulations on the success and the journey. Clearly, you've come a far way, and you're really unlocking potential. And that's part of the exciting part for me is really the potential you unlock in others for a group that maybe we're seen as limited or incapable or better off we do this because it belongs somewhere else and you're proving that's absolutely not the case, and so congratulations on that, and thank you today for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Thank you for having me. You're an amazing host and conversationalist. You made me feel so comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. Back we are here on the podcast. What a powerful conversation with Tara. One of the main points that stood out to me was her emphasis on the importance of creating supportive environments, and those supportive environments that are unique, that meet the unique needs of neurodivergent employees is so critical. It reminded me of how every great team operates. When the coach understands each player's strengths and puts them in the right position to succeed, every single person wins. Tara showed us that the same principle applies in the workplace, right? When we value the unique skills and perspectives that each person brings, we build organizations that are stronger, more creative, and more resilient. Her insights on the transformative power of kindness and understanding truly resonated with me. It sounds simple, but it's so powerful. And when we lead with empathy, we unlock potential, not just in ourselves, but in others as well. And that's a great reminder. So I want to thank Tara for that. Also love the way she shared her personal journey and passion for advocating for neurodiversity, showing how even small adjustments can lead to championship level results. And I really encourage all of you to connect with Tara directly. You can find her contact details in the show notes below. As always, as we wrap up today's episode, remember, just like every great team relies on the collective strength of its players, our communities and workplaces thrive when we recognize and support the diverse talents within them. By embracing kindness, active listening, and inclusion, we can build winning teams where everyone has a chance to shine. So that's it. We reached another episode of the Audacious Living Podcast. Remember, every play counts, every move matters, and your impact starts with how you show up. So keep pushing boundaries, keep chasing greatness, lift others as you rise, and above all, live boldly, live bravely, and live audaciously.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious. That's greatness. Be audacious.